every single day. We need to be thinner. We need to be younger. We need to have less wrinkles. We need to be more successful. We need to be better in bed. We need to have a family. We need to do this. We need to do that.
Men need to come into the conversation because for an economy or a society to run, it needs to be in balance within the masculine and the feminine.
You feel empowered when you can make a choice, right? When you have the option to choose what you want to do.
Empowerment is giving someone the possibility to achieve what they want to achieve.
Welcome to the She Word, conversations that women rarely have, but really should. The term empowerment is one that we see, use and hear so often. If I had a cent for every time I've seen a post on Instagram about female empowerment, I'm pretty sure I could retire very soon. If I had a cent for every time I've used the hashtag women empowerment on Instagram, I could retire right now. So this show is dedicated to empowerment, discussing what it is, why we need it, what it isn't, and how do we empower others. Before we get there and I introduce the guests to you, I'm just going to remind you, if you're joining us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe under here. Same for Spotify. Do follow us on our channels, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And of course, if you're one of our Patreon page subscribers, thank you so much. You're listening to this before anybody else. So I have a star-studded table of guests with me for this show. I have Sabrina Demanuele, who is the head of live casino at Comeon Group, but also a keen and very accomplished horsewoman. But in a recent bespoke show at the Comeon offices, Sabrina blew me away with her comments and views on empowerment. So I've asked you to come back on this show, and I'm going to get you to fill in the gaps in just a moment. Sarah Woods. Sarah is probably one of the founding mothers of empowerment in Malta. So Sarah is the co-founder, owner, and director at She Social Hub Entrepreneurs, which launched in 2017 and brings women in business together through events, forums, and so much more, and does so much good for the female community here in Malta. I'm going to get you to fill in the gaps in just a second. Oh, Moira.
Hello again.
Hello again. Here we are again. You are one of Malta's most loved personalities. You're a TV presenter, producer, an events presenter, animal campaigner. You openly speak about many issues, but you've been here with the She Word, talking about women with a voice. And my favorite, we talked about menopause, which was great. But you always have in mind empowering action and change. And I'm going to ask to stay with you just for a second. Fill in the gaps. What else have I not mentioned about you?
Everything.
That was it.
First of all, I can listen to you all day. Your voice is so soothing, so lovely to hear you. You're so interesting. I say this with all the sincere feelings I feel, because you're such a great woman, and you are part of this group, rightly so, because you've given a really big voice for all the women in various industries, right? Am I right? So thank you.
Thank you, Moira.
And I'm honored to be here amongst these successful women. And especially when you link, when I'm a guest, especially linked to this powerful subject, oh yes, it's a big compliment.
I'm blushing and I want to say thank you. Thank you, Moira.
I'm really glad Trudy, honestly. I've always loved
Thank you.
Trudy.
I'm really glad that you're here. I'm really glad that you're here for this. I've got my eye on your jacket. I mentioned before you came on, I'm taking that jacket off. Sarah, you are the founder, owner, director of She. We have one thing in common. We use the same pronoun. But this has been around since 2017. But so fill in the gaps. What else have I not mentioned about you? You're also a wife, a mother. You're a career woman. You tell me.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on this show as well. Honored to be here amongst you ladies also. What else about me? I think that's it. You mentioned everything. She has developed over the years. So we started out
holding sporadic events, networking events, large-scale events. Then COVID hit, we turned to an online membership, and now we have a hybrid membership. Again, the ethos is the same. We're empowering women, bringing women from different industries together to connect, to support one another, and to share stories.
I'll never forget, I think it was 2019, you asked me to come and speak on a panel, and it was incredibly powerful experience for me. I was talking about the horse riding accident that I had with the brain hemorrhages and the ruptured spleen, and I took away far more from that event than I ever could have brought to it. And it just seeing a room full of women who are there to unite and to be empowered by each other was absolutely amazing. And I want to say thank you so much for what you do. And you really have led the way here in Malta. So I'm very honored that you're here.
Thank you.
Sabrina.
Hello.
Hello. Now, we met at Comeon Group when I was there hosting this bespoke show. And as I mentioned, you really blew me away with your answers and just your insight. So much more than your years. So tell me anything that I've missed out, because I've asked you this before. Tell me a little bit about you.
Thank you so much, first of all, for your kind words and for having me on the show. Yes, we also met before, Trudy. So we said that we met before Comeon, and it was related to horses. I remember you when I was a little bit younger. So a little bit more about me. You did a good background check. So yes, I do work in the iGaming industry. Been working there for 9 years. It was a really male-dominant field. So going there in my younger years, it was a little bit intimidating. And then there's the equestrian sport, which fills in the gaps that I felt within the iGaming industry at the beginning of my time. So in the equestrian sport, there's no gender gap. So men and female compete on the same terms equally. So I have experience sort of in different fields where there's equality, less equality. So maybe there's where the insight comes into play a little bit.
You know, that's really interesting. I've never thought of that. So equestrian sports, if you're a show jumper or you're in dressage, you compete against men.
Yes.
That has to be one of the few sports where you do that.
Yes, it's one of the very few sports that you compete on equal terms. Where gender is completely equal.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Well, so here we go. We've got,
pretty special.
I knew you before my horse riding accident. I know you through my horse riding accident, and you're an animal campaigner.
Yes.
We've got a whole show there. We'll have to do that again. Well, listen, before we jump into the real meat of the show, I just want to run some statistics. According to a recent survey, the average Women's Empowerment Index score worldwide is 0.607. Meaning that globally, women are only empowered to achieve 60% or almost 61% of their full potential. Australia and New Zealand have the highest scores out of each region, while sub-Saharan Africa has the lowest. Female empowerment involves creating an environment where women can participate in society and the economy on an equal footing with men, and where their voices can be heard and their rights protected. Women's empowerment may take many forms, which is what we'll be discussing today, including education, economic, political, and social. Let me start by asking, how do you describe empowerment? And then afterwards, I want you to rate yourself on that same empowerment scale. So, ladies, how do you describe empowerment?
I think, if I may go first.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I think empowerment is very personal. So, for example, for me, it means being true to myself. So, for example, unlocking that quiet confidence that allows me to make decisions that are in alignment with my values, so that come from an authentic place. So it's the power of navigating, let's say, difficult situations and listening to my intuition. So first and foremost, I think you have to be true to yourself before you can be, let's say, a mother, a partner, a leader, or even a friend.
Can I listen? I'm going to jump in there before you carry on with that. I just want to ask you. You talked about values there for a second,
Yeah.
and that values empowerment is a ladder up from values. It's the starting point is values. So where did your values come from? Can you pinpoint where your values orient from?
I think, first of all, it takes a lot of inner work to discover what your values truly are, and they change over time, of course. But I think for me, when I became a mother, I looked inwards and wanted to do something meaningful with my life. So that led me to discovering myself, who I am, and who I want to be the best version of myself for my kids and
That's
for
really
my husband.
interesting. That's so your values are motivated from motherhood.
I would say so, yes.
That's really interesting.
That's you said it perfectly well, because every word, you meant every word, and I support that, because empowerment for me as well, empowerment comes from truthfulness, being truthful to yourself, knowing when you're wrong, when you're right, and admitting to yourself. We're all humans, and it's really a woman who sees, who clearly knows when she's wrong and when she's right, and actually fighting and making her voice heard, even when she's wrong, and accepting.
But this is really interesting because you both started with originating empowerment from deep within.
Yes.
Before, and when we think about empowerment, we think about women being warriors and going out and fighting. But you guys have both started with that. I'm going to come to Sabrina because she's looking at me. Your definition of empowerment.
So for me, empowerment, if you look at it as a definition, it can mean a lot of things. It's a multidimensional definition. So there's self-empowerment that's coming from within, but there's empowerment, you're giving power to something. You're giving power to women to fulfill their dreams in life, to be able to do what they want to do, to work where they want to work, to vote for the government that they want to vote for, to be equal with the male gender in the community. So for me, it can be, empowerment can come from within. You find the empowerment to push yourself to reach certain things, but then you need the empowerment given to you to enable you to achieve those things. So there's different definitions of empowerment.
I think if I may add on to that, you feel empowered when you can make a choice, right? When you have the option to choose what you want to do. I mean, to choose if you want to leave your full-time job to chase a dream and start your own business. To choose if you want to shift gears and change career completely later on in life, to choose, for example, not having kids and focusing on a career without feeling guilt or shame. To choose both, to choose having a career and having kids, or to choose just to be a mother and like being fully present in that role. I think a woman feels empowered when she has the right to choose what she wants to do.
The freedom.
Does that
The
make sense?
The freedom of
Independence as well.
choice, but at the same time, having all the support you need around you, which is very important.
Agreed.
I believe that once we get all the support, in my case, in my line of work, I get a lot of support from the public, the viewers. So when I say something which is 100% the truth, I would never open my mouth if I have just that 1% of doubt that what I'm saying, for example, about zoos, about animals, about the care for, I wouldn't say it unless I'm 100% sure I'm right. If I'm wrong, I admit I'm wrong and I stand to be corrected, which is excellent. It's nice to be true to yourself. It's nice to be real. We're humans, again, I repeat. So once I get the support from the viewership, from the viewers, from the public, that's going to give me more power to say,
This is
to
so
speak
interesting.
and give the next message. I worked hard. I earned this voice. I mean, I don't mean to sound big-headed or anything. No, I worked hard to be, yes, the voice for animals, because I did a lot of work. Today, there are so many other rescuers, people, voices for animals. But the viewers, the public, my family, my friends gave me more fuel, more power to speak.
See, we've just started and we've touched on pretty much the whole show. I think we could probably wrap up and go home and drink the wine. But there's so many elements of what you've just said that are within these questions. But I want to come back to the first question that I asked about not just the definition. The second part of that was, how would you rate yourself on the percentage statistic of empowerment? And I'm going to come back to what Sabrina said, because Sabrina said there's empowerment in yourself and there's empowerment circumstantially. So I want to ask each of you, I'm going to start with you, Sarah. How would you rate yourself in terms of how empowered you are and how empowered you feel, as Sabrina was saying, whether it be economically, politically,
socially, educationally? There's a lot of elements that come into play.
Okay. How empowered I feel on a scale from 1 to 10, or?
Yeah, 1 to 10.
Okay. I think my empowerment has increased over the years, and through the work that I do. I think running a business as well attributes to that, makes you feel really empowered throughout the journey. I would say I'm a solid 8.
Good for you. Dang.
And generally, I mean, it's very broad.
Circumstantially, here in this country, how empowered do you feel as a woman?
In this country.
Or even as a woman in the world? Circumstantially.
Wow. 7.
Okay, that's still good. That is still very,
Yes.
very good.
Oh my God, don't.
Okay, I'm going to Sabrina then. Sabrina,
not
you as
ready for
an individual, because I'm coming to Moira in a second.
Me as an individual. So I feel I'm very blessed that I'm in a career that I love. With my career, I can support the sport that I love. So I have the enablers in my life to be able to do what I want to do. So I feel that I'm in the career that I've aspired to be in, and I've managed to be in it, and I'm doing quite well, and I'm quite happy, and it motivates me. And at the same time, I can continue to pursue my passion in the equestrian sport. So to be able to balance both independently without the support of anyone, I find it quite empowering. So I feel 8 as well in terms of empowerment.
But is that you or that circumstance? Because you mentioned your career quite a number of times, and you yourself defined between being personally, internally empowered and being circumstantially empowered.
I feel people and women in general, to achieve what they achieve, have to work a little bit harder to prove themselves than men. So I find that it's because I worked hard. I was really ambitious. I failed, and I've continued to fail. And the failures led me to stay enthusiastic and motivated. But so, yes, it's from self-within. So my own mental state led me to where I am today. But if we look at national empowerment for women, I would say maybe we're at a 5.56.
Ooh. So we've got you said 8 and 7. You said
5.56.
And personally?
8.
8. So we've got two 8s, 2 strong 8s, and a 7 and a 5.6.
5.5/6.
Oh, I see. I thought I was going to say you're being very specific there.
No, not
okay,
to
5 points. There's a statistic there somewhere that Sabrina's been working on. For yourself, Moira, circumstantially, where you're at in this country, in this world, women, politically, economically, how do you see yourself in that situation? Not personally, but circumstantially.
I'm going to go for a 6.
Wow. Okay, I like this. This is cool. This is very, very cool. Which leads me nicely on to the fact that if 6 is 60%, why do we think that women around the world are only reaching 60% on the Women Empowerment Index? What is holding us back? What has held you back? And I'm asking you guys to reference, you just mentioned there about something that sounded a little bit similar to imposter syndrome, because we all look at you and we're like, that's Moira. Moira stands up there and she does anything that she wants to. But you've just mentioned that maybe you don't always feel like you can.
Yes.
So has there been things
it's good that percentage of doubt
Agreed.
and I feel it's healthy to doubt yourself. I don't want to be over confident and then let down. So yes, I do my homework well, and I read about whatever the subject is and form an opinion, and then we all do, and then we speak our mind. And that leads to an answer, but I don't want to keep on talking myself. I want to hear.
No, it's a conversation.
Honestly, I'm talking
well,
a lot.
listen, guys, what holds us back as women, and what has held you back?
What holds us back as women? I can speak for myself. I used to be a very indecisive person. Before starting my own business, I used to seek advice all the time. I used to think other people's opinions were stronger than my own. So I think through building my own business, I have found my voice. I have found the quiet confidence that I mentioned before. But that only happened because I took the time to trust myself, right? Trust my intuition, make peace with who I am, embrace my own unique story as well. And that doesn't come easily. I think it takes time to do the work, the inner work, and to just reflect on what is important to you, what your values are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are.
What if you could start your journey over? Start here and start again there. That's how life works, in a circular way. We understand the importance of circles, and that's why you are at the heart of ours. Find your way to wellness with Browns.
Can I ask you, do you think that came with age?
The looking within.
No, I'm just curious, because when I hit 40, something absolutely miraculous happened to me, and I could hear an inner dialogue, which was incredibly empowering for me. And that inner dialogue that hit me on my 40th birthday is, I don't give a shit anymore.
Yes, I feel you.
It's true.
It's worse when you hit 50s.
Oh,
then
good, thanks.
I don't give a fucking shit.
Thanks. But I wonder,
No,
you've
for
gone
me,
in-
it didn't come.
It didn't come?
With age. I think, so obviously you mentioned that she was a partnership, right? It started off as a two-man show. When I became the sole operator or director of the business, I started to doubt myself. I said, am I really good enough to carry out this job, this business on my own? Am I a good enough leader? Are people going to respect me? And I think that led me to a lot of inner work and self-reflection, and to gain that confidence that actually, I do have a voice, and I can listen to myself, and I can inspire people and bring people together, and help women to step into their own power. So I think that's where it happened for me.
So less age, more experience, more,
Yes, I
more
think so.
circumstance. I love that. We're looking at you.
Okay. So the question was, why do you think the statistics show that women do not feel empowered?
Yeah.
So we're looking at the number globally.
We are.
Not everyone is as lucky to have access to certain education, to have access to certain careers, to have even a voice. We know that certain countries, women are completely unequal to men. It's a man's world.
Absolutely.
Etc. So I feel that's why the statistics show that a lot of women do not feel empowered, because a lot of women cannot fulfill their dreams. They're held back by a society driven by men. So this is why I think even in our country, we need a lot of women in politics. We need a lot of women in decision making, policy making. We need women to support women, because they know what a woman needs to fulfill their dreams, their goals, etc. So that's where we need to sort of stand up and support women. Even if we see a woman taking a certain role within society, we should back her up because a woman knows and understands a woman.
Wow.
Without a shadow.
I love that.
Lovely.
Now, Sabrina is 22 years younger than I am. Can you see the future? Yes.
This is a conversation that's been coming up
That's-
recently.
This is going to change. And thanks to this generation.
So this is really interesting because before we move on to the point about the country and about generational empowerment, and I think both of those are really relevant, I just want to come back to this question and say, has there been anything in your life so far that has really held you back from being empowered? Because I think we need to identify that too.
Not exactly directly to me, but I do notice around me that a lot of women, when they want to become mothers or become housewives or become whatever they want to become or have a career, they are held back because they want a career, they have to take care of the family, they don't have time to pursue their sport, for example, or their ambitions or their passion or the art, whatever they want to do. So for them, it's harder to pursue their dream and fulfill their ambition in life. And men, they get to continue with their careers, even if something happens. For example, most of the time, because I don't want to generalize, the woman holds custody of the children most of the time, even if, for example, a relationship fails. So for a woman, the world is much tougher. She carries more responsibility on her shoulder. So for a woman, she needs more support. She needs more benefits. She needs a lot more than a man needs. And we need also men to come into the conversation and discuss how our society works when it comes to women and women empowerment.
My word. This is so multi-layered and so many facets to this conversation, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking, okay, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I mean, I want to come back and ask, I'm a bit like this. I'm going to come back and ask you one more time though, on a personal level, because let me relate a situation. I've been in my second marriage, my first marriage. I got married at 24. I was divorced by 28. And that relationship and the abuse in that relationship took all my strength and power away from me. And that was probably, if I could identify one event in my life that took everything away from me, and I had to build back up to be empowered and to think I could do it, to think I could stand on forget it. I would never have been able to, we invite people into our lives, or some people just walk into our lives that sap everything from us, and that drains us and takes away our power, and we are no longer empowered. So that's why I'm asking about it on a personal level, because what I'm understanding now is that we have social structure, we have nationality, we have gender, we have personal. I mean, this empowerment topic, I'm sitting here thinking, how long have we got?
It's multidimensional. This is why I said there's a lot of definitions for empowerment.
And it's very personal. I mean, for me, I am blessed with support. I had the support to further my studies, etc. But for a woman in Africa, let's say, it's going to be very different. The conversation is going to be different.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
definitely. I can say that I've had all the support needed, especially at home. I too got separated at a very young age, but then I found a partner who managed well my work very well, and having a boyfriend, a partner for 24 years who knows the kitchen more than I do, that is, we multitask, we help each other, but he supports my work, and my work isn't easy on many different levels. I'm not complaining about my work, but if we're out, people do recognize my face and do speak to me. I don't mind that, but doesn't mean that my partner likes that. He's very, very reserved, and he doesn't socialize a lot. He has a small group of friends. So I need to respect that as well and support him in with his life, with his choice of living. Then I'm a public person, so everywhere I go and whatever the event is that I'm hosting, and together with studio, TV, there's going to be people. I'm in the public eye. So it goes both ways. If we support each other in every relationship, in every family, we must support even our children and their choice of work, you know. And I think it works like that. When you have the support, when you have the, especially the public telling you, oh, you're the voice of animals, keep on working to change the laws, to, you know, fight for animal rights. It gives you so much power. I think we all agree.
You mentioned on we've again, it's a fascinating conversation because we've gone from personal to campaigning to world, you know, women in Africa. We talked about sub-Saharan Africa. We've talked about all these different components. And so I'm going to define that this next question relates to us here in Malta and the landscape that we have in Malta, because we're going to go all over the place. I absolutely know this, and it's just so exciting. But how you mentioned sub-Saharan Africa, but how do we compare in Malta on a scale of empowerment, do you think, compared with our overseas sisters? And perhaps maybe let's look at the good and the bad, the ugly and the beautiful. Because if we are in Malta, the statistics for empowerment of women in Malta on a European scale, on a global scale, great. On a European scale, we ain't faring so well. If we in Malta are, as women, are less empowered, then why? What is it specific to Malta that has skewed these stats?
Well, I guess it's culturally, you know, I think a lot of women have internalized the fact that we should be caregivers, you know, we are the stay-at-home mums, we raise the children, stay at home, cook for the husband, etc. So there's an element of guilt attached to any woman who wants to chase a career, who wants to, you know, be in a leadership role, because they're taking time away from that caregiving role. So, I mean, slowly, you know, I think there has been progress, but there's still a lot of ground to cover there. I think that's a big one for Malta.
But statistically, two things to come back on that. Statistically, in Europe and in Malta, 72% of women work. 72%. Now, that's not necessarily in full-time education, in full-time work, that might be in part-time employment, but 72% is a large amount.
But are they empowered?
No, for sure.
They work, yes, but they still feel that guilt, you know, and they still perhaps may not go for that leadership role or hold themselves back from furthering their career because they feel guilty.
Is it only guilt that's holding them back?
Or support
is
as well.
Responsibility
to do it. So if you're raising children and you, for example, we know there's a lot of foreigners in Malta, for example, they do not have the family to take care of their children. Okay, there's childcare, etc., but to a limited amount of time. Are the women supported to achieve what they want to achieve, career-wise, ambition-wise? So we need to look at it not from a personal point of view, but in general. If a woman wants to do it, if she doesn't want to do it, it's up to her. It's her choice. There's choices, there's freedom, there's independence. Is she allowed to fulfill her dream? Does she have the enablers for her to do so if she wanted to? If she wanted to be a mother but still pursue a career?
Without help, I don't think she's allowed.
Can I challenge you on this? Let me challenge you, because I'm hearing this season echo over and over and over again. We had women who were stay-at-home mums. We had women as working mums, and those working mums had, all three women, I didn't know at the time when they came on the show, none of them had any support. They were as in extended family. And you talk about support an awful lot. I'm here. I've been here for 19 years. I have no family. I have no one. I mean, I'm now married, and thankfully I have a family, but I've been through at least 15 years here without support. So I'm challenging it because I can. But also, you did mention statistics. You mentioned women in the workplace, and I would really highly recommend anybody go and see the shows that are running at the moment, Women in Business, which is the mini spin-off series. We've talked about the gender pay gap, and we've talked about gender definition. But I'm just going to challenge that that concept that empowerment equals support. Because
No, not that it equals support.
No, empowerment is giving someone the possibility to achieve what they want to achieve. So that's what I feel. You empower someone to do something. So if I want to eat that packet, I'm allowed to eat it. You're telling me, yes, you can eat this packet. You can go and eat it. That's the empowerment. So if, for example, I want to work and women are not allowed to work, for example, I'm not empowered in that manner. So if I want to be a working mom, or if I want to be a housewife, or if I want to be whatever I choose to be, I should be able to do it. Of course, if I'm good enough to do that role, a lot of other elements come into play. But that is what empowering women in society means. That if a woman wants to run a party, a political party, she is allowed to do so and not held back.
I'm going to come to you, Moira, just on the back of what Sabrina's just said there, because Sabrina's the youngest person at the table. You are on the older end of the scale of the table.
Yes,
and I have said this more times than I've had hot dinners, that when I grew up in the UK, and I'm pretty sure that the she-worders are kind of tired of me hearing me say this, but when I grew up in the UK, we're the same age. The two most powerful people in the country were women. The Prime Minister and the monarch were women. And between them, they could make every single decision in that country, and no decision in the country could be made without them. Mm-hmm. So my role models were the most powerful people in the country. Now, you and I are the same age. And what I'm seeing and I'm hearing is that Sabrina has reached a level of empowerment, and maybe it's age related and maybe it's experience related, because her experience is going to be very different to yours.
Exactly.
So is that something that's fair to comment on?
Yes.
Is that you've had to fight for empowerment?
Of course. We lived in a different era, totally. We fought. We actually spoke, and we made our voices heard, even when it was a bit dangerous, I must say. I need to use that word. So that's why I believe Sabrina's generation will change, because they are full of empowerment. They are determined to change what needs to be changed. And we depend on you, because most people are actually fighting for an environmental change, because the planet is in a mess. So I truly believe that the activists at this age are more powerful, are doing something that are, how can I explain this? We used our voice, and with the social media today, you can reach more people. They're all out there.
But
we were in a small bubble trying to get out of that.
Thanks to people like you that voiced your opinion, worked hard, we are able to be more empowered today.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sweet.
your generation that spoke up, did the dirty work, we are a little bit more empowered today to demand certain things, to be afraid to speak, because previous generations did the foundation of the work for us to be able to do so. So it's one step at a time. Each generation is continuing to build upon upcoming generations. So your work, although it was much more difficult, has led the younger generation today to be able to do the things that we're doing now, to give the tools.
Yes.
That is really amazing, isn't it?
So every woman that, is elected, or every woman that steps into a position of power paves the way for the women that come after
Exactly.
her.
True.
Does that mean then that we're going to see generational development and generational changes in Malta as we move through the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years?
I should hope so.
Yes, I believe so. And thanks to the new president, who is a female, I proudly say that I think she will make a
She's a
change.
bit of a...
She's amazing.
I mean, look, can I just say this? When, as I mentioned, these two people, when I was growing up, that were women, and they were, the terms used to describe them were battle axe and difficult and very derogatory terms, because they were speaking their mind. because they said what they felt and they made decisions that were unpopular, which, let's face it, people in power should be making decisions that are unpopular. Particularly, you mentioned about environmental crisis at the moment, and our new president is going out and saying things which a lot of people are not going to like.
Exactly. And it had to be a woman. And I'm proud of that. Our new president is actually making her voice heard. And she wants a change. So, yes, look at this. This can be the whole change to a better Malta, to a better world. Why not? But I really believe in people like Sabrina who not only, first of all, education is the key to everything. And you find all these smart women speaking out there, public speaking, and you know what to say. And this is a clear example. And why not? More women in politics and remaining down to earth, speaking the truth and not scared of the truth ever. And being always close to the public. That's really fundamental, in my opinion.
I'm going to just touch on this for a second because I have asked the question which you very beautifully evaded. What has held you back from being empowered? And I'm going to ask Moira, because Moira, you've chosen to make some very unpopular statements and and stand up for topics and subjects that is not comfortable with a lot of people. We had you on Women with a Voice because you stood up when hunting came along, for instance, and you were putting yourself literally in the firing line. Did that disempower you, or did that drive you further?
It depends what you mean when you say disempower me.
Did it make you shut up? Did it make you want to not
No, you can never shut me up. I don't know what it is. I think I was wired this way somehow. I can't ever... Don't tell me to shut up when I want to say something. I decide when to shut up. So, yes, that's the referendum. It was such a big experience. Such a learning experience. So we need more women to speak their mind, because that was a point where males just tried to scare me in a way to shut me up with expressing my opinion, my vote. So yes, I don't think I ever shut up, or did I ever stay away?
No, I've never heard you shut up.
That is inspiring because although you had some people against you, you stood for what you believe in.
Yes, I made a lot of enemies as well, but that's not important.
But sometimes we're not here to make friends when you want to make a statement.
Exactly. We're not here to be loved.
Such wisdom, so young.
So young.
Didn't I say? Look.
Super, Vera.
I want to come to you, Sarah. We're going to come around the table because I want to, I've mentioned two people that not necessarily, now that I look back, not necessarily inspired me, but they certainly empowered me. And it was taken for granted when I grew up that I could do anything, because the two most powerful people in the country were women. Why can I not? That was the 100% ratio of empowered women. So let me ask you, who inspires or empowers you the most in your work? You got a big smile on your face. It could be in your workplace. It could be through what you're doing with She. It could be your social circle online. It could be somebody you don't even know.
Many people inspire me. Let's start off by saying that. I do feel inspired by every single member of the She community, I have to say, because every one of them has taken the decision to step into their power and do something for themselves. And seeing them grow, seeing them thrive in their businesses, that is a big one for me. I really feed off that energy. There are so many women doing amazing things in Malta. I mean, starting off by, comes to my head, I don't know, Yasmin De Giorgio, who you have had on the show as well, has been a huge inspiration to me. Also, Crystal Pensa, who has started from the ground up and runs a thriving business. My daughter also inspires me every single day. I mentioned before, I told you she's fearless, she's ambitious, she's so driven, she loves to dance, that's what she likes to do, and she's fully committed. And she just goes for it, and those are qualities that I never had growing up. So I see it in her and I applaud her for it, and I try to support her in every way that I can. You inspire me yourself. I mean, when you sat on the She panel and spoke about your journey so authentically, that's it. That's all it takes, A woman being vulnerable and talking about her trials, her tribulations, and how she's overcome that and powered on and achieved following that. For me, that's inspirational in itself. Yeah.
But
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Very.
Thank you. But I do, and I that has made me a bit English and shy. But I want to come back and just ask you, you mentioned about your daughter and your daughter being as driven as she is in the absence of you being driven at that age. But don't you think she's looking at you and she's seeing how you are driven with She and how you're impacting, hundreds and hundreds of women? Do you not think she's looking at you and saying, well, if my mum can do it, then...
That's a lovely thought. I hope she's doing that.
But I can't see how that's not a logical equation. Is that not a logical equation?
Hopefully. I mean, that's a lovely thought to think.
For me,
I never thought about it that
for
way.
me, it's a no-brainer. Huh?
Yes, it's a no-brainer, definitely.
For sure.
Thank you.
Sabrina, for you?
I don't have a specific person that inspires me. I get inspired by moments, actions that people do. When people speak about certain things and I find that they're really speaking out of from their heart, I get inspired. When I see people taking action for the better good of others, I get inspired. When I see Moira campaigning for animal rights, I get inspired. So it's a combination of different elements and people that inspire me.
Meet Mineral 89 Booster, made of millions of minerals and the iconic hyaluronic acid. It's so fresh, so pure. It boosts skin strength by 71%. So powerful, we had to call it the Booster. By Vichy. Health is vital. Start with your skin. And wait, there is more.
So apart from Moira, who inspires all of us and empowers all of us, who... And we're going to use the word empower because I want to bring this back to, you've seen somebody doing something, you've said it yourself, you see somebody actioning something and you say, okay, that inspires me, that empowers me. Give me a for instance.
For example, my sister, she's a go-getter. She's unapologetically herself. She doesn't care what people think about her. She does what she wants. So she goes and gets what she wants. So at the beginning, when I started competing overseas, I thought, oh, it's too difficult for me to do it. It's something I won't achieve with the horses. I have work to have horses in Malta, horses abroad. How am I going to manage? And she just bought a horse and went for it and kept it in Sicily. And I'm like, thanks to her, she took me outside of my comfort zone. And I've done things that I was afraid to do that I thought that I'm not able to do. So she showed me that, yes, we can do this. So that empowered me to say, oh, I actually have the power or the ability to do this if I go for it. So sometimes we put ourselves on a leash and we think we cannot achieve something because we're afraid to try.
You said something really key and I stand by this. You got outside your comfort zone. And for me, that's where it's what you talked about, your business. It's what you're talking about there. And I know, Moira, that when you've had to stand up and you've had to fight, you get outside your comfort zone and that's where the magic happens. Because you say, if I can do this small thing, What else can I do?
And sometimes, as I said, you think you cannot do something because you're afraid to try. Once you try it and you realize, oh, this is actually doable. I can actually do this.
And you need that push, that
You need
support,
that push.
yes.
So you need
And
someone.
I fully understand you when you mention sisters. My sister is a very silent partner in my line of work. I know that I'm going to get the full truth in my work, with regards to my work, whatever I'm doing, whether I'm dressing the right dress, whatever I said, every word, everything. And my best critic is my mother. She is spot on. And we're not a family who will meet, oh, how well you were dressed, how well you spoke. No, we're going to mention the ugly bits and pieces. That's my family, all my members, including my son. My son, I'd ask him, listen, check this footage for me, check this. What do you think? He's so honest that it hurts sometimes. Ouch, John, But that's it, That's that's reality. You want to hear the whole truth. And that empowers me.
So who inspires you?
No, definitely, no doubt. It's Isabel Bonnici. Isabel Bonnici is a person I truly admire. Her strength, her words, her fight. You think I was not scared to say what I think in the past and to speak my mind and everything. What about Isabel Bonnici?
So explain who Isabel Bonnici is for anybody who's watching this and doesn't know or listening to this.
A mother who lost her son in construction, unfortunately, and she fought for rights, for the law to be changed in the construction business. So that she's a big woman. And she's such a person who I truly look up to and say, look, if we had so many women with her strength, her empowerment, her volia, what's the right word in English? Her volia, like the fight, the spirit she has to fight what is right, what is hers. Imagine so many more women with that personality.
It was remarkable, wasn't it, to see change? She made change.
She made change. She fought for change. She didn't have to fight for change. No. And she fought for change. So definitely a woman with balls who managed to make a change in our country. Yet again, as you or both said, there are many other women. And lately I heard Kate Winslet talking about us being normal. And that really kicked in, What's wrong with women being themselves, women acting, being comfortable with themselves, What's wrong with being wrong, with making mistakes on stage or in front of the camera? We're living in a real world. We can't change all this into plastic after all the work we've done so far.
There are some women that are, and I think this is I'm putting this question on the table right in the middle of the nuts there. There are some women who are doing exactly that right now in social media and in media itself, that I think would be really appropriate to recognise, because it's a value that I think we need to adopt ourselves. You've just mentioned Kate Winslet, but there's also Emma Thompson, who's going out and saying, I'm ageing. So what? I'm ageing. I've always, Dame Judi Dench,
yes.
I've always loved her because she's, as you get older, life gets harder. It gets tougher. And I think there's a temptation, there's an absolute freedom, but there's also a temptation to be much more self-critical and think, does anybody want to see me doing this? I'm 50 years old, blah, blah, blah. And she just keeps doing what she's doing. Are there people like that you see, that you think to yourself, wow, because it seems to be a trend right now. We've moved away from women
being perfect,
being shy when they get older, and being shy from being in the public eye, and women just going, you know what, this is me. Danae Mercer-Ritchie, who's going to be at the event. That's what she does. Her job is to go out there and just say,
Yes,
and I can't wait to hear her. She's keynote speaking for us and interviewing and Q&A. That's what, and she's talking about, this is my body. This is what it looks like. I can make it look like this. That's not an actual pose, but you can make it look like this. But that 90% of the time, it looks like this.
And most women are shy or scared to speak their mind because of these issues. I'm not going to look good. I'm not good enough. So this is it. We need to get the honest truth out there for encouraging other women who have brighter ideas and scared to voice their mind.
People that you guys think of that you can relate to, that you've seen in media that just really fire you up? I mean, let's face it, we all look at social media. So is there anyone that springs to mind?
I'm not very fond of social media.
Well, I didn't say we like it. I said we look at it. You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference there.
When I look at it, you have to take it with a pinch of salt sometimes, because they're selling a message, they're selling an act. Sometimes what they're doing is for the views, for the likes. Is it authentic enough?
Sometimes, not sometimes.
No,
Yes,
so
is it
fake.
authentic enough? Is it something I aspire to? I do listen to motivational quotes and they do inspire me. I look at, for example, people rescuing animals and they are inspiring.
Yes, those
you see
are real
stories,
stories,
etc. But there's no specific social media person that I...
Or even, I mean, apart from this one, a podcast that you might listen to. I've been listening to Mel Robbins. Do you know who Mel Robbins is?
No.
You show me a picture. I forget the names. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and especially at night, I don't follow any influencers. And
But that's honest. That's honest truth. I don't listen to Mel Robbins
I
very
respect
often.
their job, but podcasts is more, a learning station to me. I learn from these podcasts, and I keep in touch with every day whatever's happening. I mean, these podcasts today are really, really interesting, and it keps you going.
I listen to crime and serial killers and all that stuff. Really?
Not so empowering.
No.
Okay.
Guy called, he's one of the dragons in Dragon's Den.
Diary of a CEO.
Diary of a CEO.
No, he's great, huh?
He's super, and he's calming, and it's relaxing and very, very informative. Yes. Can I open one of these
Yeah,
packets?
absolutely. Fill your boots and eat the nuts. Go for your fill your boots. Honestly, I haven't had the curry flavoured ones yet. No, do.
I'm going to open it.
So what does that look like? When another woman inspires you or you are inspired, we've just talked about the people that inspire us. What does that actually look like when you feel empowered by someone else and you feel more empowered because you've had that interaction? Is it a comment? You said yourself it could be a comment or it could be a phrase. Is it a conversation? Is it a conference? Is it an Insta reel? Where do you get those nuggets, powerful nuggets of empowering inspiration from?
If I can say this, and it affects me, like a good presentation, a good message, an event. There's a woman talking and she was real, she was authentic. That gives me all the fuel I need. It's like charging a battery, you're tired, you're drained, and then, I should work on this, I should do this. That's really, really empowering.
Even watching a movie, for example, sometimes I feel so empowered by watching something that there's like a strong message in, that you feel motivated, fueled to do something, to be better, if you have a dream, to go and chase it, to go and do it. So,
Can you give me an example? Oh, you knew I was going to ask that.
No, I didn't. There's no specific example, but yes, these little moments in life, it doesn't have to be a person. Sometimes I'm at the beach at night looking at the moon, hearing the sea, and I'm like, all of a sudden I feel empowered and I start looking at the world and say, life needs to be lived. I should do more. I should be more grateful. I should embrace it more. Like, you soak it in and it empowers me. Like, I'm in the moment for real. And then I feel, for example, empowered to, for example, do a project or to travel or to do things that are more inspiring to me.
For me, it's community. I think that's what I try to curate all the time with She. It's sourcing people to have these authentic conversations to then inspire other women to take action with their own lives. So hearing a comment or even a social interaction within the community, sharing a story, sharing something that they've overcome. I mean, anything like that will spare a thought in someone's head and give them the strength and the courage to say, if she did it, then so can I. Like you said, with your role models growing up, if they could do it, then so could I.
And over the what is it now? We're 2024. So over the 7 years that you've been doing She, you must have seen this over and over again.
And honestly, it's magic when you see them step into their own power, and I'll give you an example. So
Because
last
my
Christmas,
next question was going to be an example. There you go. You've done it for me.
So last Christmas, we had an event where I made everyone stand in a circle and voice an achievement, be it big or small, something that they were grateful for that had happened during the year, that they wanted, since most of us are solo entrepreneurs, right? That they wanted to celebrate, and we would all celebrate it together. And a lot of them mentioned, this or that, and they all said, and it's thanks to community. It's thanks to you who inspired me. You were the catalyst for this project, and you feed off each other. And I really think that community shouldn't be underestimated, because the proof is in the pudding. I don't know, just that, in itself.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think it leads me very nicely on to my next question, which is a double barrel part of this context. And that is, if we as women have the power to empower other women, which we do, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, why don't we? What is the barrier to stop us? Because I want to address that first before we address how we can do it. I'm going to say that I think quite often we can be insecure. We have a very tough time if we're talking about it in the context of work and career, we have a tough time because we're battling quite often for success against male counterparts to whom we are already disadvantaged. That is statistical. It is not my opinion. And if that's the case, then we're pitching ourselves against each other. Women are pitching, Moira, you and I are going up for the same show. That's never going to happen. I don't speak Maltese. You're very safe with that one. But if we were pitching for the same show, we're exactly the same age. Would we want to come up to each other and say, I really hope that you get it. I'm driving you on. That would be the most empowering thing.
We would probably be doing that. Yes.
But is not society pitching us against each other not to do that?
I'm with women. Does it work like that?
Sometimes it does, but I think this is what we are trying to change.
Absolutely.
Right? This is that's why we're sitting in circles discussing these things, because we are on the same team, right?
Exactly.
We want us all to succeed. And I think it's super important that we support each other. I mean, I have this quote in my head from Maya Angelou that I love, and it goes like this: if you learn, teach, and if you get, give. And I try to live by that,
Yes.
and I think it is beautiful when someone gets to a stage in their career and then passes on their knowledge or mentors someone else.
Oh my word. I mean, that's such a massive topic. And thank goodness it's been addressed in the Women in Business. I think Helga Alul told me in an interview a long time ago, she said, when you get to the point where you've done it and you can't do it much more, your role, your joy comes from empowering other women to do it.
Exactly. And I agree.
Yes.
And if I can add to that, we're a large group of animal activists. And some of us are in the media, some of us are growing in the media, and we help each other. And my role is this, to actually go, you can get it, and you can get that, and make your program relating to animals successful. And I do help other producers, and this doesn't happen too often. Well, let's be realistic. When I was younger, it was a competition because I had to earn a living out of my program, selling advertising. As I grew older, and even at that age, I used to help other producers to make their voice heard when it comes to animal welfare. We need more programs, more people, more activists reaching out and showing their work, their line of work. At the moment, I can feel my phone buzzing. And it's another producer from a TV program about animals on another station. So people might think we're in competition for viewership. We're not. I mean, we share guests, we share experiences, we try and help each other with sponsors, and this is how it should be. And if I may add to that, I recently watched the film Scoop. Have you watched it?
No.
Watch it.
Okay, I will.
3 women, Scoop. And you see how realistic the actors, the actresses, I mean, brilliant acting, British as always. I'm pro-British when it comes to series and reality. Yes, it is.
So I'm going to go and watch Scoop. I
Yeah.
want to ask you, Sabrina, though, I want to be realistic about it because we've got, I would say, we started off by saying that we're all on an 8 on this table. And I want to just throw this thought out there that if you are not feeling empowered, if you are not at that point in your life where you feel like you can achieve what you want to achieve, maybe that is a component that would make you more reluctant to support and empower other women. And I'm going to ask you, Sabrina, because A, because you're younger, and B, because you are in a work environment. You're a head of a department. You're doing incredibly well.
Thank you.
And I'm not asking you to speak out against any colleagues or whatsoever, but have you found in your career, as you have worked your way up, that women have always supported you? Because I'm not sure that is the case.
No. So I started off working in land-based casinos, then I moved online. And the land-based casino was it was back then, it's not 10 years ago, a very male-dominant industry. It's changing, there's more females now, and I think in previous years it was even worse. So I was in the transition sort of where more females were working in these land-based casinos. So at the beginning, it was very difficult for a young female to work in such an industry because if you have an idea, they see a young female with a good idea and they disregard it because they want to show that sort of the male dominance within the land-based industry. But when I moved to online, I found that I had a lot of support and mentoring from male colleagues, male managers, and maybe because the company was also foreign and the gender rights was quite equal. There was not a lot of gender discrimination. I think Maltese companies need to step up in those areas. Personally, what I think, working with both foreign and Maltese. But yes, I did face in a particular company, not the company that I work for, that female colleagues saw me as a competition rather than a colleague. And it was a little bit heartbreaking, but at the same time, I had a really, really great female manager that really empowered me and taught me a lot. So I've seen both sides. So I've seen what women can achieve when they empower each other and when they're against each other. And so I've dealt with both areas. It's not nice to feel threatened or to go against a woman. If you see a woman that's doing well and has a lot of knowledge, my manager taught me a lot, like how to deal with things, how to be a good manager, how to support people, how to empower your employees and appreciate and create development plans for them, etc. So a woman taught me a lot, but also other women made it very difficult for me in certain aspects of my career.
You see, statistically, that is what you've said is the current climate. And we're moving away from that. Hopefully we're moving away from that current climate where women are pitched against each other because they are in a competitive space to empower each other with one common goal. But that's kind of there, and we're still getting there. And I want to ask you guys, I want to give an example and ask you guys as we come towards the end of the show. Yes, I know. But as we come to the end of the show and we come to the end of the season, I want to ask you guys, you've mentioned so many, but I want to pinpoint practical ways that we can empower each other, and not necessarily in the workplace. I've said this and I've given this example a number of times because this is something that I am now trying to live by. As I was coming through the airport from Prague back to Malta, it was late at night, the flights were all delayed, the airport was almost empty, and I went into the toilets. And there was a woman standing at the sink, washing her hands and looking at herself in a very slow manner. But she was dressed on point. She looked absolutely stunning because she was very well coordinated. And I said to myself as I went into the toilet, and this is quite recent, it's something I used to do and I stopped doing it. And recently I went into the toilet and I said to myself, I had one of those inner conversations, and I said, if she's still there when I come out, I have to say something. And I just have to give her a word of encouragement. And I don't know why I led to do it, but I said I'm going to do it. Don't know her, no idea, just walked out. And I was hoping she wasn't there. But she was. And she was still staring at herself in the sink. And I said to her, do you mind? I said, do you speak English? And she said, yes, I do. I said, do you mind me just saying to you, you look absolutely amazing. I said, you look so beautiful. And I really felt that I wanted to tell you. And she looked at me and there was this like really long pause, longer than is comfortable. And she said to me, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that. And we had that awkward silence where we looked at each other, and she walked out and she left. Now, I don't know what her story is. I'll never know what her story is. But for that moment, what I said made a difference. It didn't cost me anything. And so what I've tried to do since then is every time I feel led by my gut that I need to turn around to a complete stranger and say, hey, how you doing? Or can I just tell you, you look amazing? Because we don't do that. We as women, culture that we live in right now gives us challenges every single day. We need to be thinner. We need to be younger. We need to have less wrinkles. We need to be more successful. We need to be better in bed. We need to have a family. We need to do this. We need to do that. And I think sometimes just taking that moment to turn around and say, Moira, I love your jacket so much. Can I have it? No, I'm just kidding. Moira, that looks really beautiful on you. Or you're an incredibly empowered young woman who has an incredible voice. And I'm pretty sure I can speak for the both of us, for the three of us, we're in awe of you right now. And Sarah, I'm just so damn happy that you're on this show because you have made change to so many women. I think we need to do that more.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what your thoughts are as a closing thoughts of how you think we can empower each other.
My closing thoughts is the fact that we walked in tonight. We walked in tonight, this afternoon. When we walked in, we immediately started showing our true colors, our sense of fear being on the show, making sure that we say the right words and we're all truthful to the subject. And that felt amazing. That felt like I knew you before.
True,
we
yes.
never met. And it's so warm. It's so welcoming, You make us feel like, we've been on the show every week. But it's you, Trudy. You're a warm person. And that comment you passed to that woman was beautiful. You got me into tears nearly there. But with Sabrina and Sarah, we never met. And the fact that we immediately opened up and showed our
Very
true feelings made us...
That vulnerability.
Yes.
And recognizing each other's humanity, right? As we said, we're all human, and
exactly.
and let's support one another. For sure. I mean, these little things, actually listening to each other, being mindful, even if you have a friend that you haven't spoken to for a long time, give her a call, compliment someone when someone wins something, when someone achieves something, buy from women-owned businesses, like their posts, silly things. But all these little actions, all these little drops in the ocean create waves. So I think every little bit helps.
I agree. And talking about vulnerability and how open and how authentic and how supporting women are, I think in our nature as women, we're very carers, we're nurturers. We look, in our nature, if you look at a mother, she cares for her young. So I think, talking about women empowerment, men need to come into the conversation, because for an economy or a society to run, it needs to be in balance within the masculine and the feminine. So without happy women fulfilling their dreams, there won't be happy generations. We are the ones who teach. We are the ones who care and raise the children. We are the ones who support the male in the society. So without the balance of the feminine and the masculine, there will not be a successful, let's say, future, a pathway.
Bravo.
It's true, but we need to be in balance.
Yes, you're great. That's it. I love listening to you, and you're only 30, right?
Yes, 30.
And it's amazing. You can really empower other women, and with what you said, it's already more than enough. Bravo.
Thank you so much. So kind
Bravo.
of you.
I love everything that you said, and coming from very, very different angles. And I'm so darn honored that you'd come on this show and we'd talk about this. Chin chin to you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
I can't read.
Thank you.
I'm going to reach over there.
Thank you, ladies.
And thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to share this space with you. So thank you.
Great pleasure.